What is going on, everyone? My name is BoIt and I'm back with some more Age of Titans action, spawning in the right hand side of the map. The east, in the blue color, playing as Zeus, is Swedish Chef. His opponent today in the red color, also playing Zeus, is TSM Player. This is on the map Tundra. It's a Zeus mirror. Some of the best Zeus players currently playing the game. TSM Player and Swedish Chef. Swedish Chef in the top 5 on Extended Edition. TSM Player having expert status on RTS Sanctuary for quite a time before he was declared as inactive. So he's definitely got the skill set to be an expert. He just went into the Gosu group. If I need to explain this, I think I do. RTS Sanctuary is the community hub for Age of Titans. If you want to come visit the community, then definitely head over there. It's basically just rts-sanctuary.com. And what we do, I'm a staff there, but basically what the site's about is experts providing recorded games for everyone to watch. It's basically the place where they all post their games. So if you ever want to watch any of these games, they often get posted daily. Then head over there, check out that. Also, a lot of community content over there. A lot of people just chatting about random stuff as well. So it's a really friendly place with friendly place. Anyways, there's got the expert category, and it's based off of activity and skill. So you have to have the skill to be an expert, as well as be active in providing the community with recorded games. TSM Player fell out of that category, but he went into the Gosu category, which is basically just the player who had the skill and basically achieved expert status goes into Gosu. So he probably still has the skill to be one of the best Zeus players at the moment, up there with the Mister and all those other ridiculous people. Swedish Chef, though, is one of those up-and-coming players who, for the PK Clan tournament, I feel is going to have a really strong showing. He's been playing quite actively at the moment, and he's very, very good. I've had the pleasure of playing him, and the stuff he does is really interesting. So we do see that there's a couple of villagers here chopping some wood down and putting it into the storehouse. A little bit of an interesting placement of the storehouse. Actually allows him to basically delay this second storehouse that he needs to put up and save him some wood. It's not necessarily like a good or a bad thing. Of course, it's good in regard that he's got to spend wood elsewhere. Didn't have to have all these villages on wood, but it's also kind of a nuisance because later you have to make sure you have that 50 wood. When that tree expires, it's better to build that second storehouse just to stop the walking distance that's going to happen. So more villages over to food. If we come back over to TSM Player's perspective, he's got 3 villages on wood, 2 on gold, the rest on food. So it's a very similar build order for both players. TSM Player probably a little bit behind on that temple right there as he's sending his villager over to build his temple. And we do see a really nice house and wall here protecting this location. Very intelligent, and he's sort of looking for his early classical age time when it's possible that he could be grabbing this second town center really early, or simply just securing it for later, or basically narrowing down the amount of spaces where the center can raid, because 9 times out of 10 Hermes is the way to play this matchup. We do see another wall coming over here. He's using the tower as part of his wall to save him like 3 gold. A little bit interesting there. Not much to note other than that. We do see Hermes going up now. Very, very quick advance time, like 420 he'll be hitting that. TSM Player, on the other hand, also advancing relatively quickly. Probably 420 as well. So this seems like maybe it's even a standard sort of build order for the Zeus wall. See another storehouse going down. You chuck this second storehouse down on the same trees. Doesn't make a lot of sense considering he walked them all the way over there. Sure, it's a really nice storehouse spot, but if you chuck that storehouse right here, that's a lot of walking time saved. That's pretty much the same in terms of like how much efficiency they're going to have, because you're going to have like 3 or 4 trees to chop from instead of just like the 2 that he's currently chopping from. So it's the efficiency is the same in that regard. So he's just wasted a little bit of time there. moving over into that forest. However, that being said, this is a very defensible forest. It's going to be difficult for Swedish Chef to raid that. So 70% Hermes for the TSM player and Swedish Chef at 85%. So we're going to see something happening here. We do see 6 villages on the gold mine at the moment for Swedish Chef. He's got hand axe going for him, and he looks like he is saving up resources for that early second town center. TSM player, on the other hand, not saving resources at all, has 9 villages on wood, 80 gold in the bank, 89 gold in the bank, and currently going to be spamming out those Odysseus, those Centaur, and it's actually really interesting that he's decided to get this second Odysseus first. It's because he's advanced later than Swedish Chef, and he believes that Swedish Chef's going to be onto him with those early Centaur, but instead he's going to be a little bit disappointed to see this early second town center going down, as a raid does come in here. Maybe he's going to hit a villager and then take half health. No, he gets bolted before he hits the villager. That's an interesting use of bolt there. I wouldn't say it's a good use of it. The Centaur wasn't going to kill anything. You had your own Centaur there, which was going to deal a lot of damage to that, because there was a special ability sort of like misnomer there. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to use it anyways. See some idle villagers over here as Jason just wandering around trying to poke his head in and around and see stuff. You do see that second town center now going up the Swedish Chef, so that's a 5-minute and 10-second second town center. That was hard to say for some reason. Second town center. Why English do you have to have the same word for different meanings? Doesn't make any sense. Anyways, the settlement going up now. TSM player must note that Swedish Chef has dropped a fair amount in score here. He does have the 1 unit killed, so he does have an advantage militarily at the moment, so his score should be larger than Swedish Chef's, but for it to be 150 at this moment in the game obviously means that Swedish Chef is either spending all his resources on a town center or spending it on something. TSM player, on the other hand, not really reacting at all in regards to this. He's going to be able to get his second town center up at some point. He's not building a stable, he's just building houses. So he's being very passive on the unit production, which is something he's sort of, from what I've watched, is something he sort of really tries to do. He tries to build military buildings a little bit later in favor of economy, and simply just building Centaur for a while until the latest point that he can. Without losing the game. So he's still continuously producing these Centaur. As you can see, that auto queued. He's got the Sylvan Law upgrade for them. Now he's just going to be running around and doing all bunch of different stuff. Some more idle villages here for TSM players. Going to fix them up pretty quickly. Jump back over to Swedish Chef's perspective there. He's got his second town center. Should be aiming to get maybe like some stables going, something like that. He's in a really good position at the moment. Having that second town center, and he just needs to sort of not lose any momentum in this game, and he's going to be able to get ahead on the economy. However, being at this point in the game with no food in the bank means you can have no villages getting produced, and he needs to be having those villages produced from both town centers if he wants to actually abuse having 2 town centers. Otherwise, by the time TSM player grabs his second town center, which is going to be very soon, he's not going to have had that much of a villager like lead over to TSM player, which means his strategy is kind of nullified, and CSM player will have more military than him, so Swedish Chef will fall behind in that regard. Trying to pick off this Catastrophic Scout, not going to be able to do so, switching over to the Jason. They do have a lot more hit points than the other Jason for some reason, and they're just going to pick off that Scout, and it looks like the Odysseus and the Jason are going to get away without losing any of their life. Swedish Chef using these heroes to come in here, and this is something that TSM players' strategy is lacking. Like, it means he has to use ceasefire here to secure this town center. If he had produced a couple of stables, be able to protect this, but that being said, probably wouldn't have been able to chuck this town center up as early as he did. So intelligent play by TSM player utilizing that ceasefire. Unfortunately for him, he did lose HP on his heroes, so that he wouldn't really be able to defend this with simply just his heroes. So Swedish Chef getting a little bit of a win there. He gets to choose when the next ceasefire is, However, ceasefire is a little bit underwhelming in this matchup. Its only real use is for securing a town center, and that's what TSM play has done with it. And you can actually get that town center up with, I think, 4 villages and a full ceasefire wave. So he's going to get that up easily and start producing villages from that. If we jump back over to Swedish Chef's perspective, we can see he's again very low on the food count. 18 villages on wood, no villages on. Well, he's got 2 villages on food, and he's got auto queuing villages from both with 0%, wanting to build stables. So his economy at the moment is in a really weird space. He's also grabbing a 3rd town center, which is equally strange considering how low his food count is at the moment. He's trying to do a lot at once, which is often the wrong way to do it. We see TSM player grabbing his 3rd town center. However, his economy is really allowing for it. He's got 150 food, 13 villages on that food, and he's still got 7 go. So his food income is going to be happening for a long time. So regardless of the fact that Swedish Chef has had a multitude of time, well, I don't know if that's the right word either, probably just a lengthy amount of time to get villages over Swedish Chef. He's going to be losing out on these villages. He's going to be losing out on the production time, and that means that he's going to fall behind in villager count. However, that bolt bringing him sort of back into the game, picking off that Odysseus, 200 wood and 2 favor worth of bolt there. Always nice to use that on the Odysseus or something a little bit bigger. That's the biggest thing on the Classical Age, so use it then. It's a good thing to do. These centaur coming in again. If you can get that town center up, he would be able to garrison those villages into the town center. Does not do so, loses both of them before he could do it. There's actually a theory that, well, it's not a theory, it's kind of a fact, that a computer would be able to micro units so perfectly, like a chariot versus chariot army with siege towers on AOM the original game, where you could garrison chariot archers into a siege tower. You can't do that on Titans or Extended Edition, but in the original game you could garrison your chariot archers into siege towers. So if you had a chariot archer versus chariot archer fight, you could technically never lose any units, because every time the enemy chariot archers would fire, you could garrison your chariot archers into the siege tower to dodge those arrows and then ungarrison them. So technically your chariot archers would take no damage. Anyways, that's a little bit of a interesting fact there. Back to the game, we see Swedish Chef getting a nice raid onto CSM player. He's going to have to get out of there. He's losing actually 3 villages there, so nice pick off there for Swedish Chef. TSM player really needs to start getting his military going. He's got his 3 town centers up. He's got them all booming out at the moment. 7 villages on food, 19 on wood, and 5 on gold. You definitely start thinking about getting more military buildings. He does have a barracks and a stable. I do believe that the centaur barrier, centaur, hoplite, and cavalry, what are they called, hippocon, probably the best, if not the best, composition for the Classical Age Greek army. Toxote are good, but they aren't the best thing ever, and we do see a nice little pick off there for Swedish Chef. His micro, not the best there, probably could have saved a centaur there. Unfortunately, he's losing 2 centaur for the price of 1 there, but 1 centaur at 13 HP, not the worst thing, so long as he remembers that, we can pick that off later with his Odysseus or with something or other. Do see these units starting to amass a little bit quicker at the moment. More villages coming out again. Swedish Chef, even with 22 villages on the food, still having some idle town center time in some of his town centers. Bound to happen. It's got to be something to do with like upgrades. He doesn't have pickaxe. He doesn't have many of those other upgrades. Unfortunately, right there, he wasted time there by focusing the low HP centaur with his centaur. So he took 2 special attacks, or like 3 special attacks from his opponent for the price of the 1. So a little bit of miss micro there from the centaurs, and we see now we have to see the Toxito micro against the centaur, which is very difficult. He can pick off a lot of those hoplites though from range, but then the centaur can just do, I think it's 2 centaur kill off an unupgraded Toxito, so you can do similar villager killing micro with the Toxito, so you can pick off like 4, well he's got 5, so you can pick off 2 Toxito and a half at a time with their special attacks. We do see another raid coming over here for Swedish Chef, so Swedish Chef definitely keeping himself in the game economically by picking off villages from TSM player. A lot of walls though over here. It's only the villages outside of the base that TSM player is losing. If this was hit, that would be a nice raid for Swedish Chef. Raid coming around here for TSM player. Not going to be able to do much because of this wall. That's why Centaur they're great raiders in terms of picking off villages, but when walls go up, they get shut down pretty severely. Jump back over to TSM player's perspective, see what he's doing. Looks like he's chucking up his armory and gearing up to go to that next age. He needs to think about securing this gold mine a little bit more securely. Chuck up a couple walls here and here just to secure that so that he would not lose it without any doubt. Losing a couple of villages here just to the nice micro from Swedish Chef. TSM player, nice micro of TSM player. Swedish Chef trying to get in here, not going to be able to do all too much there. No, Orok going to town on that villager. Villagers are ruthless creations. They will not stand for any of that. Anyways, Toxite, Hippicon, Centaur, all of those units. Looks like the population 110 to 128. Swedish Chef in a pretty strong spot. The war's going up now for TSM player, whereas I would consider that now would probably be a really good time for Swedish Chef to attack, considering he's ahead in population. He obviously doesn't know this, and his army probably isn't that much stronger than Swedish Chef's anyways, because he's got all these Toxite when his opponent has all of those. Hippicon, I guess TSM player has built a couple of Toxite just because they're not cost effective, but they're sort of like you've got those resources sitting in the bank, so you should probably use them just to get those units out. And Swedish Chef sitting less than a house. He needs to build that house, otherwise he's going to sit here. Looks like Swedish Chef trying to get through here. Actually going to lose all these centaurs if he's not careful. Looks like he's not paying attention at all. He's going to have to retreat out of there. These centaurs, though, are going to come over here and try and pick off these villages here. That's a nice hit for them, but it's going to be difficult for them to get out of this space. However, them being here is always nice. TSM player noticing that those centaurs ran right by him. Swedish Chef not noticing at all, so he's going to have to do something about that. Really nice play by TSM player. If you move your villages away from a source, it's better than just leaving them there to gather the extra 15 food and losing them, considering they cost 50 food. But yeah, Hippicon getting picked off there by TSM player. You can see how strong the special ability is, and then all 5 of these centaurs without a special ability can one hit a villager as well, so that's always nice to know that. The Hippicon now coming in over here. Is something else going on? Because no, not really. Often you'll find that these players are trying to do multiple things at once, but at the moment it looked like TSM player just got a bit complacent there with his centaurs. There's a nice long wall coming up over here. There are some wolves here, just going to make it a little bit painful, and some polar bear. He's going to have to deal with these as well. We see the villagers automatically reacting to that, but looks like TSM player, Swedish Chef doesn't want any of that. The polar bear coming over here. That village is actually going to die to that wolf. We can see that this is a really nice raid here from TSM player. Going to be able to pick off at least 2 villages here, maybe 3 if he micros correctly. And we do see that, nope, only the one, oh yeah, 3 villages. Nice micro there. Swedish Chef should not be gathering wood from there. That makes no sense. Actually, probably at the backwood, or I don't even know. The safe wood's back here and here. We see a nice push coming in here. However, the Toxite are in a really good position. There is medium Toxite for TSM player though, so his army is in a stronger state than Swedish Chef. Swedish Chef does have a good concave though. The Toxite of TSM player not going to be doing all too much. There's also, I'm not exactly sure about this, so don't quote me on it, but I believe there is some form of advantage to being on an elevated terrain in Archer Wars, and he was down here versing up here. I'm probably very wrong. I probably am, but I remember hearing about it sometime, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty on the money. And we do see both players going through Apollo there instead of the Hydra hoarding Dionysus, which should always be interesting. Oh no, Swedish Chef's going to get picked off here. He's going to lose all of these Toxite. He's not paying attention. Villager getting picked off over there, and And that movement there by TSM player, really good, picking off a bunch of those Toxite. Can move over onto this gold mine, which has been completely surrounded by storehouses. Really sneaky play there by TSM player. And if he moved over there, that's the only gold mine that Swedish Chef has. So picking that one off would be a huge win for TSM player, and basically like win the game right there, then and there. Nice wall here from TSM player as well. And it looks like the surround is happening for Swedish Chef, but an underworld to this location would be enough to sort of secure it. He's also stopped Swedish Chef from retreating those villages, so picking off a bunch of those ones right there. There is a gold mine over here. If he sends some heroes over here to deal with the centaur, like a Heracles or something like that, to be able to deal with that. Retreating out here, a little bit interesting when he's probably got the stronger army. He doesn't have any centaur in it though, as opposed to Swedish Chef's one, which would probably deal a fair bit of damage. And he's probably more concerned about the fact there is a gold mine here, so actually securing this gold mine wouldn't win in the game. The Centaur still distracting some pressure over here with the Manticore and the Centaur Polemarch. There is a Manticore here as well for TSM player. I'd be interested to see exactly where TSM player's favor is going, considering he's got 7 villages on favor. If he starts producing, he's going through Hephaestus, so he's going to build his 3 armories. There we go, he's got the 4 armories up, he's going to get that cheap armor upgrade, and he's going to be in a really strong spot at the moment. Hephaestus is such both players going through Hephaestus, but Swedish Chef with only the 1 armory, not with any favor, he's really not on the money here. It's interesting, both players doing the same thing strategically, but TSM player taking that little bit of an advantage. They're going to grab that early cheap armory upgrade that Hephaestus gives him, chuck that plenty vault down, get that economy going. Going to grab that armory upgrade pretty much instantly. As soon as you see that favor drop, he should be grabbing that instantly. Should be like his first priority, like before there we go. He's grabbing that now. We do see Forge of Olympus going down. Once that's done, 75% minus on the armory upgrades. A lot of these units from TSM player getting picked off here. Get a little bit distracted, accidentally clicked on that Auroch, it looks like. Gonna have to retreat them out. Swedish Chef now hitting the Mythic Age through Hephaestus, chucking his plenty vault down, and still not enough for that Forge of Olympus upgrade that TSM player has grabbed. See a bit of a raid coming in over here, but the Colossi are going to be able to deal with that pretty easily. Focus that Colossi on the Manticore and then have him eat some Tundra tree. That's one of the things I love about the Colossi. You can actually re-heal health from eating finite resources. It's a little bit funny. And it looks like that's going to be dealt with pretty easily there. Jump back over to TSM player's perspective. If he actually did build a couple of those Colossi, it would not be a bad idea. And we do see that some of these Hypaspis coming out now instead of the Hoplite. It's an interesting choice. You can also build Myrmidon, but Hypaspis make a little bit more sense considering your opponent might build Myrmidon. If they do, it should be a reactionary play though, not a thing before that. Anyways, it looks like the Petropoli are out for Swedish Chef at the moment, as we see that the upgrades for TSM player are now kicking into gear. We see the Pegasus coming in now, going to be able to chuck that underworld down, but remember that Swedish Chef still has access to that ceasefire, so an underworld at this back location is not going to do all too much. It's just going to probably kill them all and then underworld himself over there and do what he really wants to do. As the Colossi now getting picked off, we do see that again, probably could be upgrading those a little bit more on the money, especially when they're so dirt cheap. You see the Hypaspis coming in here. They do have that ability to kill off buildings quicker, but it looks like they're just going to be waltzing around and trying to picking off those Petropoli there. You see some Heliopoli coming in here trying to deal with this. The Colossi on the town center at the moment, and these unupgraded Hippocon trying to get into the fray here, trying to deal with these Heliopoli. But with the Toxidae here, with all of their upgrades, it's going to be very difficult for him to deal with that. Heliopoli coming in now, going to attempt to pick off this fortified town center as best that they can. Nice. Was that a raid? No, I thought that was a raid. Anyways, town center getting pained right now with those Heliopoli and the Colossi dealing with that. Both town centers getting pained though. We do see the Petropoli dealing a lot of damage. It's the brute force mentality of the Heliopoli versus the finesse of the Petropoli. But Belleroth for now in the party. You cannot keep a triple I alive when there's a Bellerophon. Just jumps in, and look at that damage. Just pretty much 3/4 healthing that with one attack, retreats it away, jumps back in, kills it off, keeps the fortified town center alive, gets the masons up. But it does look like the Heliopoli forced TSM player did get picked off there. Colossi coming in now. So again, Swedish Chef just lacking a little bit here. Should have his own Bellerophon out as well. Should be able to deal with this. Should have his upgrades for his units, but doesn't yet have any armory upgrades at all. So TSM's quality of unit is superb compared to what Swedish Chef's is. So the again, this Bellerophon going to town, jumping straight onto that Colossi, dealing a lot of damage there. He's also garrisoning it, which is really interesting. It allows him to prevent the focus fire on his heroes, and he can just go back to fighting that off. We do see that the ceasefire goes down, though, gives Swedish Chef a little bit of breathing room, get his units out. However, if we jump into the upgrades tab for TSM play, he's going to have iron upgrades at the end of this. You can see he's upgrading those. And we do see there is the Sun Ray as well, so his Toxite going to be able to do a fair bit more damage. Jumping over the Swedish Chef's perspective though, he's still only got the 1 armor, he still doesn't have the 60 favor, he's got 4 villages on prayer, which isn't the most efficient thing you can do. It's still more efficient than 3, but you just need to chuck on like 7 or 8, especially when you have this many villages and you should still be building villages at this point. Maybe. Anyway, Swedish Chef hitting that full supply now. He's got some of these Heliopoli around his town center. His town center going up again. You probably should think about upgrading that town center and getting architects just to prevent his town center dying purely to a Silver Colossi. And also thinking about getting that Bellerophon out. It's such a strong unit. It's so good. And you can pick off stuff really easily with it. Especially any Petropoli that decide to come out here. And we see that the Colossi right on that town center here going to get picked off pretty much instantly as they get surrounded there. The Heracles pretty low there though. Does manage to get picked off. We do see the Colossi as a Silver Colossi really going to town there. He's got a Jason on him, he's got the DC, he's got a bunch of Toxite, and yet still managed to get a couple swings off there. Those Heliopoli of Swedish Chef getting picked off as well. TSM player doing a real fine job. Swedish Chef having to deal with some Toxite on the gold line. Dealing with that though, and we see Pegasus still in the back of the base of TSM of Swedish Chef. Could actually get a sweet like underworld attack now that the ceasefire is down. And we do see that Bellerophon now out for Swedish Chef, picking off the Silver Colossi. And doing all that other good stuff that he does. Heliopoli now coming in, trying to pick up this town center yet again. And TSM player just running over here, going to use his villages to pick those off. And this is very difficult for Swedish Chef to deal with this, because TSM player is sitting a lot of resources to Swedish Chef, not really sitting on many. And he's not really able to keep up on production. Losing his fortress cues him to leave the game. It's his only fortress, I believe, so he cannot produce any more siege. Very difficult for him to continue fighting without that siege in his army. He still didn't have any upgrades as opposed to the iron upgrades of TSM player. So economically, TSM player played this like superbly. Unfortunately, I really like Swedish Chef's play. Economically, it makes so much sense to grab that second town center if you can play defensively enough. But he didn't have the food to back it up, so he couldn't abuse it and get ahead economically early. And while he didn't fall behind economically early, he certainly fell behind later in the game, when TSM player just played superb. If we look at the economic upgrades as well, this is something that's really important. He's got pretty much every single upgrade that you need for your villages, and Swedish Chef only with the bow sword doesn't have them all, doesn't have the mythic farming upgrade either, so his economy would be severely far behind. And a lot of that is to do with the fact that TSM player had some really good raids, but so did Swedish Chef, so it doesn't equate that much. And also the fact that TSM player had all of those villages on favor in order for him to make more efficient use of his units by grabbing that Forge of Olympus upgrade so early. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe. and I'll see you guys next time.